Was there shit that happened in your life and you were like, and then you saw it on Sopranos and you were like, that's exactly.
Well, I had a teacher back in the day, Mr. Gil Martin. I'm pretty sure he's dead now, so I can talk about this.
R.I.P.
But I was making a joke because I was, as you can imagine, an insane class clown, nonstop, always in trouble, always signing a conduct card, everything, every fucking day. And so the teachers hated me, and Mr. Gil Martin really hated me. He felt like he wanted to teach me a lesson. So anyway, one day I was making a joke, a blatant joke with all my buddies about, yeah, my dad jerked me off the other night, something like that. And he goes, oh, he did? I go, no, I'm kidding. He goes, no, you know what? You said that. You're going to learn today, my buddy. And so he goes to the principal and says, Tony made a well, he didn't. I think I don't know if he said that I made a joke about it. But anyway, he goes, Tony said that his dad jerked him off. We have to call children's services. And let me remind you, my dad and me, it was a secret thing. Like I wasn't supposed to go around town and tell people who my dad was or anything like that. Right. Well, that either. But it was, I was the secret, and I was fine with that. It probably psychologically affected me a little bit, being a secret kid.
That he wasn't your dad, or that he was in the crime syndicate?
Well, he was in that and that, but it was like a secret kind of. It wasn't like my dad is blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Wow.
I have a different last name than my dad. I took the last name of the husband that was, my mom wanted me to have the same name as my brothers and sisters that were much older than me, but with the different dad that she was married to, even though they weren't whatever. You just didn't get divorced back then. I'm sure you guys have heard about this.
Yeah.
Like you just lived in,
We're the
you
same
just
age.
had separate bedrooms, but you didn't get divorced. And my dad was going through the same thing, separate bedrooms from his wife and just banging my mom. For 11 years, by the way, until I was made. So they had like a super secret romance. Anyway, so Mr. Gil Martin wanted to make a fucking stink, not realizing what he was dealing with. So he has the principal call children's services. They track down who my dad was and call him. And, my dad basically is like, I'm sure he was making a fucking joke. What are you guys talking about? But this Mr. Gil Martin applied the pressure, blah, 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 blah. Long story short, oh man, it's crazy. But he wasn't a teacher there much longer. And my mom and I are at the grocery store a few months later, and he's stacking cantaloupes in the produce section of the grocery store. His new job, wearing the apron and not seeming happy. And it's very much like the, again, I can't believe you guys haven't seen the fucking show.
Yeah.
But there's a guy that gave Tony a ticket, and he ends up working in like a gardening.
Yes. Yes. Whoa.
And you see the guy, and you
Can
kind
I
of
give
feel
you my
guilty.
picture and resume to play your mom in the show? Like, oh my God, this is crazy.
Oh, it goes on and on and on.
So
That's just the first one I thought of. I mean, if I sat down and really
sure.
thought about it, I could go on and on and on. You, your character, like figuring it out, and you telling him like you don't know. I have an older sister who literally had that conversation with me. Like, you can't talk about it. It's a thing.
Oh, wow.
It's our own thing. You can talk with me about it, but you can't talk with other people about it. But yeah, your dad makes money doing illegal things. It's gambling. And just like you do, it's like you're not blowing it up. It's normal to us. It's like it's just what everybody else is doing in their jobs and businesses, but it's technically illegal. It's just a government scam so that they can blah blah blah. Like it's literally your perspective.
Did you ever go like, is this show based off of like? Did you ever think like, is this us? Like, did you ask your dad or anybody like?
Yeah, but they always downplay it, just like on the show, So it's like, no, I don't do that. Blah blah blah. I told this story on Your Mom's House because when I first did Your Mom's House with Tom and Christina, you guys will appreciate this. I literally, for some reason, because I'm a stoner and I don't listen to anybody's podcast, I thought if you went on there, you were supposed to talk about your mom.
Right.
So I talked about my mom. It ended up being just a massive, like, this was like 7 years ago, but it was like a big deal back then. People are like, Gina, this and that, because I was telling them little mob stories because my mom ran numbers. That was like her child support. So instead of my dad like giving her money, he let her run an entire an entire branch.
Holy shit.
Yeah, an entire branch of the thing, running numbers. So it's like an illegal lottery, blah 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 blah. So it ended up being like this hit thing where people are like, because we asked my mom, we ended up calling into my mom called in the second time I did the show. And Tom goes, so let's just say, and she's a sweet old lady now. She's out of the business. She's 76. So like I've taken it upon myself to kind of vent this thing, even though every time I see my dad now, who now I'm closer with than ever, he always goes, oh, I would tell you more, but you're going to go on a podcast and talk about it. But anyways, the last time anyway, when my mom called in on Your Mom's House the second time that I did it, because she was like a hit by that point, Tom goes, so what if I didn't have the money for you, like on the due date? Like, let's say the due date's Tuesday, so let's go through it on the phone call. Let's make believe. She goes, okay, let's do it. He goes, hey, Gina, I don't have the money. I won't have the money for you on Tuesday, but I'll have it for you on Wednesday. And there's like this like long 5-second pause. And she goes, there's no such thing as Wednesday. And they fucking
oh my God, I
lose
just got
their
chills.
minds. Yeah.
Oh, she's such a badass.
There's no such thing as Wednesday. But anyway, talking about how things are relatable, also on that episode, I talked about how my dad told me that he was out completely. I talked with him that night at his restaurant. This is years ago. And he goes, I don't even do any of that stuff anymore. That was back in the day, and it was nothing. There's nothing going on. And on cue, this is a true fucking story. And Red Band and a couple of my old podcast buddies were there when this happened. A guy walks in with a newspaper and literally goes, really good news today. And you can see
the money,
cash hanging out of the end of this rolled up newspaper. You just stacks of cash through it, bundled up and hanging out of the end. The news was good today. It's like, oh yeah, you're totally out. Totally a legal operation.
Do you remember the first time you sniffed something that you were like, something's going on, something's different?
Well, what's crazy is that I found out really, really early on. They lied for a long time, like up until maybe when I can't remember the exact 7, 8, 9, 10, somewhere in there. They lied. They said that my dad just worked a lot. That's why he only visited once a month or twice a month or whatever. And then I noticed when my school bus would pick up my one buddy, Jeff Lewis, across the street, I noticed a car that looked a lot like my dad's car that I would be waiting for and excited to see when he would come visit. And it's crazy because I was so young. We'll just say 10, which was like the old side but it may have been earlier. I matched the license plate. I memorized his license plate, or at least the first couple letters or whatever, from when I saw it, because I'm like, I want to see, because that looks a lot like the car across the street from Jeff's house. So I matched the license plate up, and I confronted my mom with it one day after school. I go, I noticed that Dad's car is parked directly across the street from Jeff Lewis's house. And she knew that my dad wasn't a truck driver or whatever they told me up until that point. She knew that he lived about 8 blocks away, right across from Jeff Lewis. And she goes, okay, all right, we're going to have a talk. And she called up Lori, my older sister, and it was the two of them and me in my mom's bedroom. She's posted up, sitting up at a 90-degree angle on the bed, Lori in the chair over there, me on this little bench at the end of the bed. And to their credit, they explained everything to me. Perhaps it was too young for it to happen. Perhaps it was too late. But they basically explained like, okay, so everything we told you was a lie. You were Italian, you're super Italian, and here's how this culture works. Your dad was married. I was technically married, but we weren't in love with the people that we were married to. And sometimes this happens and that happens, but he's connected with something, they tried to it was a lot, but I didn't fully get it, but they explained it to me young. They're like, okay, let's just go all the way honest. That was her plan, which is, I guess, was
like
good.
it.
Yeah.
I like it.
The show is like life for me because it really is a comedy. The Sopranos is a drama disguised, or it's a comedy disguised as a drama.
Yeah.
It's hysterical. The entire, every part of it. Like there's not
and
an
because
episode
we shot it like a drama,
Yeah.
I think that's why it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we there was never an ounce of us ever trying to be funny.
Right. And with my stand-up, as corny as this sounds, it's kind of like the same thing. You know, it's The Sopranos and Tarantino is the artwork in my place. It's the it's kind of like my, not brand, but it's just my
Your
sense
vibe.
of humor because it's serious, which disguises the punches. So when something funny happens, which, you know, these Tarantino films are hilarious,
Yeah.
right? But
Casino, all like I mean,
Exactly.
Goodfellas is
Oh,
fucking
hilarious.
But then what's crazy is there's people who watch Joe Pesci kicking the guy on the floor and you're laughing with your boys, and there's some people who are like, why are you laughing?
Right.
Like, this is so crazy. And they do, it's wild that you're watching the scene and people get completely different things from it.